Who paid for this place, huh? Your crack dealer boyfriend? The officer snarls as the hose erupts, a brutal stream smashing into her face, her chest. She's knocked backward into the grass, stunned. You think I'm dumb? Black woman in a $600,000 neighborhood? He steps in, cranks the nozzle harder. You're either the maid or you're stealing. Which is it? He barks. Please, officer, she coughs, voice shredded as water floods her mouth. I own this house. She can barely form the words, choking. Own it, you? He laughs, mean and cutting. Maybe I should call ICE. See if you're even legal. 40 endless seconds. Water hammering her. She can't breathe. Can't talk. Neighbors spill outside. Phone's up. Recording. At last the stream cuts off. She slumps on her lawn, soaked, shaking, mascara streaking down her cheeks like ink. For a moment she just sits there, wrecked. Then slowly, she rises. Every movement deliberate. She reaches into her pocket, fingers closing around a small metal case. She flips it open and holds it up. And the officer's face drains of color. What she reveals makes him beg. Wednesday, June 12th, Portland, Oregon. The sun climbs over Laurelhurst, one of the city's most affluent neighborhoods. Tree-lined streets curve past restored craftsman homes with deep porches, glossy paint, and lawns groomed like golf courses. At 2847 Maple Ridge Drive, a pale yellow two-story with white trim basks in the soft light. Roses line the front walk in precise rows, each bloom immaculate. Geraniums sit in terracotta pots by the door. Inside, Dr. Camille Lawson pours a second mug of coffee. The kitchen smells of dark roast and lemony dish soap. Classical music spills from a small speaker on the counter. Vivaldi, her usual Wednesday soundtrack. She's 47, her natural coils pinned back with a wide cloth headband. No makeup yet. She wears worn jeans and a loose cotton shirt, the kind she doesn't mind getting dirty in the yard. Her leather briefcase rests by the door, already packed. Annotated opinions, motions, bench memos. Oral arguments are set for 2 p.m. at the federal courthouse downtown. Before the bench, before robes and precedent and tense attorneys, her roses need attention. She glances at the photo on the fridge, her and her husband on their last anniversary. Dr. Thomas Lawson, cardiothoracic surgeon, left for the hospital at 5:45 a.m. Wednesday cases start early. Camille opens the front door. Cool air greets her, a crisp breath of morning and damp earth. She inhales deeply. This is the part of the day she guards like a secret, before the docket, before the weight of other people's lives. Just her, the birds, and the garden. She grabs the green hose coiled near the porch steps, twists the spigot. Water surges through, humming in her hand as she sets the nozzle to mist. A fine spray kisses the rose petals. She moves slowly along the row. Attentive, almost ceremonial. The soil darkens as it soaks up water. Morning, Camille, calls a voice. Evelyn Harper, 82, stands in her own yard next door. White hair pinned back, floral house dress fluttering, a hose of her own in hand. Good morning, Evelyn, Camille replies. Your azaleas are gorgeous today. Oh, yours put mine to shame, dear. Evelyn laughs, a bright, familiar sound. That fertilizer I told you about is working miracles, huh? Camille smiles. You were right, as usual. 5 years of this. Sunday tea, spare keys exchanged, emergency plant watering during vacations. Evelyn watched the house last month, while Camille and Thomas were in Maui. Now Camille turns the hose toward the geraniums, humming with the music drifting from the kitchen. Her mind begins sliding, toward today's case, a dense civil rights suit involving police conduct and qualified immunity. She catalogs arguments, precedents, pitfalls. She doesn't notice the patrol car slowing on the opposite side of the street, doesn't see Officer Brent Walker behind the wheel, eyes narrowing as he watches her. Brent is 43, buzz cut, thick neck, 15 years with Portland PD. His fingers clench around the steering wheel until his knuckles pale. "You see that?" he mutters. His partner, Officer Tyler Cruz, 26, still with that fresh out of the academy stiffness, looks up from his phone. "See what?" "Black woman, nice house. Something's off." Tyler shifts uneasily. "Brent, come on. It's just somebody watering their yard in Laurelhurst." Walker's jaw ticks. "In this neighborhood? Doesn't look right." He slides the car into park. Tyler frowns. "The captain said we're supposed to be careful. Community liaison?" "The liaison office can kiss my ass," Walker snaps. He pops his door open, already halfway out. "I've been doing this job 15 years. I know suspicious when I see it." Tyler watches him cross the street but doesn't follow. His stomach knots. This feels bad, but Walker outranks him and Tyler is still on probation. One wrong move and his career tanks. He stays by the car, heart thudding. Walker's boots strike the sidewalk with heavy, decisive steps. His hand rests on his duty belt, close to gun and cuffs. Camille looks up, caught by the movement and the uniform. She straightens, thumb flicking the nozzle off. "Good morning, officer. Can I help you?" Her tone is even, professional, the same measured cadence she uses from the bench, but her pulse jumps. She's done nothing wrong. Still, her fingers tighten around the hose. Walker stops at the low decorative fence, then simply steps over it without asking, boots sinking into her lawn. He plants himself between her and the roses, his shadow falling across the bushes. "What are you doing out here?" His voice is flat, edged with suspicion. Camille blinks. "I'm watering my garden. Is there a problem, officer?" "Your garden!" He looks from her to the house and back again, eyes narrowing. "This your house?" The way he loads her makes her skin prickle. "Yes, I live here. Why are you asking?" Walker takes another step, closing the space, deliberately crowding her. "Ma'am, I'm going to need to see some identification." Camille feels her heart pound in her ears. She's a federal judge. She knows the law in her bones. On her own property, no vehicle stop, no reasonable suspicion. He has no lawful basis. "Officer, standing in my own yard, I'm not required to show you ID," she says quietly. Walker's face tightens. "Ma'am, don't make this difficult." "I'm not trying to make anything difficult," she replies. "I'm asking why you're here." He takes another step, close enough that she catches a whiff of his cologne, cheap and sharp. "We've had reports of suspicious activity in the area. I need to verify you belong here." "Suspicious activity?" She lifts an eyebrow. "I'm watering flowers." "Exactly," he says. "You don't really fit this neighborhood." The words hang there, ugly, unmistakable. Camille's jaw locks. She's heard versions of that her whole life, but never at her own fence line. "And what exactly does someone who fits here look like to you, officer?" His eyes flash. "Don't get cute. Are you the homeowner or the help?" "Officer, Camille owns that home," Evelyn calls from next door, voice tremoring but firm. "She's been my neighbor for 5 years," Walker whirls. "Ma'am, step back. Police business." "Police business?" She's, "One more word, and I'll cite you for interfering with an investigation," he snaps. Evelyn's mouth opens, then shuts. She lifts her phone instead, thumb hitting record. Camille works to keep her tone steady. Officer, I'm happy to answer reasonable questions. Reasonable? Walker barks a mirthless laugh. You giving me legal advice now? I'm asserting my rights, she answers. Your rights? He moves closer still, inches from her face. Let me explain your rights. You've got the right to cooperate, and the right not to piss me off. Clear enough? Tyler appears at the fence line, face pale. Brent, maybe we should head back to the car. Cruise enough, Walker snaps without turning. But the captain, I said I'm handling it. Tyler hesitates, then retreats, shame burning his cheeks. Across the street, a young couple pauses their morning jog. The woman raises her phone, video already rolling. 2 houses down, Mr. Bennett steps onto his porch, arms folded as he watches. Walker notices the growing audience and his jaw tightens. Instead of backing down, his temper spikes. Here's what's going to happen, he declares. You're going to show me proof you live here. Deed, mortgage, utility bill, something. Those documents are inside, Camille replies. Then we'll go inside and get them. He says it like an order. You want to enter my home? She asks. Do you have a warrant? His mouth curls. I don't need a warrant if you invite me. I'm not inviting you, she says evenly. Then I'm detaining you till we sort this out, he snaps. On what grounds? Trespassing. Trespassing? On my own property? She asks. That's what I'm trying to determine. Her mind races. She could walk in, grab her federal credentials, end this in a minute. But anger smolders in her chest. Why should she have to prove anything to him? Officer, I want your name and badge number, she says. Walker taps his nameplate slowly, almost mocking. Walker, badge 5319. Write it down. I've got time. Oh, I will. Believe me, she replies. Ooh, is that a threat? He sneers, turning to the crowd. Everybody hear that? She just threatened me. A teenager pedals up on a bike. Black kid, maybe 16 or 17. He hops off, phone already up, camera trained on Walker. I'm live streaming, officer, he announces. Put that away, Walker snaps. I have a right to record the police, the teen says. We're in public view. This is private property, kid, Walker growls. Get lost before I run you in too. The teenager doesn't budge, just shifts his grip and keeps filming. On his screen, the viewer count climbs. 52, 83, 140. Walker's radio crackles at his shoulder. He ignores it. Last chance, lady. Show ID or you're going downtown. Camille's hands shake, not from fear, from fury. Downtown for what? She demands. Failure to identify. Resisting. I haven't resisted anything, she says. I've refused unlawful requests. There you go again, he says. Playing lawyer. I work in the justice system, she replies. Walker snorts. What? Some paralegal? Maybe a receptionist? He runs his gaze over her, dismissive. No, you look more like janitorial staff. Maybe cleaning the courthouse bathrooms, Evelyn gasps. Mr. Bennett shakes his head, lips pressed tight. On the teen stream, the viewer count jumps past 300. Officer, you're walking yourself into a serious mistake, Camille warns. The only mistake is you thinking you can live in a place like this. He gestures at the house, the flawless lawn. $500,000 property, perfect landscaping. You really expect me to believe you can afford this? Why wouldn't I? She asks quietly. Because people like you. He bites off the last word just in time. People like me what, officer? She presses. Go on, say it. For all these cameras, his face darkens. Don't push me. I'm not pushing, she says. I'm standing in my yard. The hose is still in her hand, nozzle pointed at the ground. She'd shut it off when he approached. Walker notices it, eyes narrowing. Put that down, he orders. It's a garden hose, she says. Put it down! You cannot be serious, she mutters. Do I look like I'm joking? He snaps. Step away from it. She places the hose gently on the grass. Water left in the line dribbles out, pooling around it. Happy! Back up, he barks. She takes a step, shaking her head. This is insane, she says. Walker keys his radio. Unit 7 and 3 to dispatch. Requesting backup at 2847 Maple Ridge. A uncooperative subject, he adds. Static answers. Copy. 7-3. Nature of call? Possible trespassing. Subject refusing to identify. Brent, don't! Tyler calls from the car, voice tight. More neighbors emerge. Woman in yoga pants, man in a faded college hoodie walking his lab. Another teen with a phone joins the first. Camille looks from Evelyn's stricken face to the young couple across the street, to Mr. Bennett's steady gaze. Something in her settles. Officer Walker, she says, I'm going to reach for my ID in my back pocket, slowly. His hand drops closer to his gun. Keep your hands where I can see them. My ID is in my back pocket, she repeats. I have to move to get it. He hesitates. Fine. Slow. Any sudden move, and his fingers rest on his holster. The crowd murmurs. Someone shouts, He's threatening her! Cameras tilt closer. Camille moves carefully, turning slightly. Her heel catches the hose, slick with water. She stumbles, just enough to jerk the line. The nozzle flips, a short burst of water spraying up. A few stray drops hit Walker's pant leg. Barely a splash. He looks down, sees the damp patch on his uniform. Rage lights his face, hot and instantaneous. Did you just assault me? He roars. What? No, I tripped, she says. You just assaulted a police officer, he yells. It was an accident, she insists. I saw it, he snaps. You sprayed me on purpose. That's not what happened, she says. He lunges, snatching the hose from the grass with a sudden, violent motion. Tyler bolts from the car. Brent, stop! Walker twists the nozzle. The spray shifts from gentle mist to a solid, brutal jet. Camille sees it a beat before it hits. Now don't you dare... The water slams into her face like a fist. The force rips the air from her lungs. She throws her hands up, but the stream is relentless, drilling into her chest, shoulders, throat. It's cold, shocking, violent. She tries to turn away. He tracks her like prey, following every stagger. Think you can assault me? He screams over the roar. Think you're special? The pressure drives her backward. She trips over the rose bushes, goes down hard, spine jarring against the soaked grass. He stands over her, looming, the hose trained on her face. Water floods her nose, mouth, ears. She coughs, gasps, choking, trying to shield herself with her hands. 10 seconds, 20, 30. Stop! Evelyn shrieks. She's drowning! 40 seconds. Her blouse clings to her skin, jeans heavy with water. Her ears ring. Finally, his finger eases off the trigger. Silence falls, broken only by Camille's ragged breaths. She sits in a puddle on her own lawn, hair plastered to her skull, mascara streaking down like war paint. Her briefcase lies overturned on the driveway, paper scattered, legal documents dissolving into sodden confetti. Walker tosses the hose aside, chest heaving, a cruel smile curling his lips. Maybe that'll rinse some of that attitude off you, sweetheart, he says. The crowd erupts in outrage. Phones point from every direction, now at least 10 different angles. On the teens live stream, the viewer count explodes. 9,900, 2,300, 2,800, and Tyler stands frozen near the curb, horrified. Evelyn sobs quietly on her porch. Camille remains on the grass for a beat, eyes closed, feeling the humiliation burn through her. Then she braces her hands, pushes herself upright. Water cascades from her clothes. She wipes her face, looks straight at Walker. When she speaks, her voice is low, steady, lethal. "Officer Walker, you have just made the worst mistake of your career." He barks a short laugh. "Is that another threat?" "No," she says. "It's a statement of fact." She reaches toward her back pocket again. The soaked denim resists, but her fingers find the hard edge of metal. She pulls out a small black case, water dripping from its edges, and flips it open. A gold seal catches the sun. Federal judicial credentials, laminated photo, embossed emblem of the United States courts. She lifts it so Walker can't miss it, so every camera can capture it. "I am Dr. Camille Lawson, federal judge on the United States Court of Appeals for the Ninth Circuit," she announces. The color drains from Walker's face so fast he looks ill. His mouth opens, closes. No words, just a dry click. "You just assaulted a federal judge on her own property," Camille continues, "in front of dozens of witnesses." His hand starts to shake. The badge case gleams, undeniable. "That," his voice cracks, "that has to be fake." Tyler rushes up, phone out, fingers flying over the screen. He searches, scrolls, then goes gray. "Brent," he whispers. "Oh God, Brent!" He turns the phone to show him. Camille's official portrait fills the display. Black robes, American flag behind her. Same steady eyes, same face, now standing drenched in front of them. Appointed 2019, confirmed by Senate, 92-4, presiding judge, in Henderson for Portland Police Department. Tyler's voice trails off. Walker snatches the phone, staring at the screen like it might rewrite itself. His breathing goes shallow, rapid. "I didn't. How was I supposed to?" Evelyn's voice cuts through. "I told you, she lives here." "I tried to warn you," she cries. The teen streamer zooms tight on Walker's face. View count rockets to 4,500. Comments pour in. "He's done. Assaulted a federal judge on live. Career over in 3, 2. Mr. Bennett steps down from his porch, walking to the property line with measured steps. "My name is Harold Bennett," he calls. "Retired attorney. I witnessed everything. Battery, unlawful detention, trespass, deprivation of rights, all documented." More neighbors pour out. Woman in scrubs just off the night shift. A man in a blazer with a to-go mug. An older couple leaning on each other. Every one of them is watching. Phones raised. Camille wipes water from her brow. "Officer Cruz," she says, turning to Tyler. "Your badge number?" He straightens reflexively. 2962, Your Honor." "You observed everything that happened?" "Yes, Your Honor," he says quietly. "And you tried to intervene?" "Yes, Your Honor. I told him to stop." "Cruz, shut your mouth!" Walker snarls. "No," Tyler says, stepping back from him. "No, Brent. I'm not going down for you." Camille pulls her own phone from her other pocket. Miraculously, it survived the drenching. The case is slick, but the screen lights up. She scrolls to a contact labeled Chief Grant. "I'm calling your police chief," she says. Walker's knees visibly wobble. "Your Honor, please," he stammers. "I didn't know. If you had known I was a judge, you wouldn't have assaulted me?" she asks. "Is that what you're telling me?" He swallows hard, says nothing. "So if I'd been a courthouse janitor, like you assumed, this would have been acceptable?" she presses. That's not... I didn't... Choose your next words very carefully, officer. Her thumb hits call. The line rings. Not once, twice. Chief Grant, a woman's voice answers. Camille taps speaker. Chief, this is Judge Camille Lawson, she says, voice carrying across the lawn. I need you at my residence immediately, 2847 Maple Ridge Drive. There's a pause. Judge Lawson, are you all right? The chief asks, tone sharpening. No, I am not, Camille replies. One of your officers just physically assaulted me in my front yard after accusing me of trespassing at my own home. Silence stretches, then, which officer? The chief demands. Officer Brent Walker, badge 5319, Camille answers. Another beat, heavier this time. Jesus, the chief mutters. Judge, I'm about 10 minutes away. Is he still there? He is, Camille says. Don't let him leave. Internal affairs will come with me, the chief replies. Thank you, Camille says. She extends the phone toward Walker. She'd like a word with you. His hand trembles as he takes it. He fumbles the phone to his ear, taking it off speaker, but Grant's voice is loud enough that the closest neighbors still catch every word. Walker, what the hell did you do? She snaps. Chief, there was a misunderstanding, he stammers. A misunderstanding? She repeats. You assaulted a federal judge. I didn't know, so it would have been fine if she were not a judge. She cuts in. That what you're telling me? No, ma'am, I just... Badge and gun. Right now, she orders. You're suspended on the spot. His face crumples. Chief, please, I've got kids, a mortgage. I've been on the force. You were on the force, she says coldly. Not anymore. Her tone softens slightly. Put Judge Lawson back on. Walker hands the phone back, his fingers brushing her palm before he jerks away like burned. Camille lifts the phone to her ear. Yes, Chief, she says. The conversation drops out of the crowd's hearing, but her expression tells the story. Jaw set, eyes hard. She listens, nods, glances once at Walker. Yes, I'll file a formal complaint. Yes, I understand. Thank you, Chief. She ends the call and turns back to the street. At least 50 onlookers now, neighbors on porches, people in parked cars, dog walkers, stopped mid-route. Miss Harper, Mr. Bennett, anyone who recorded this, please preserve your videos, she says. You'll be contacted by investigators. A chorus of yes, Your Honor, and of course, echoes back. The young couple approaches. The woman, still clutching her phone, says, Judge Lawson, we've got everything from 3 angles. We'll send it wherever you need. Thank you, Camille says sincerely. The teen streamer steps forward, bike forgotten on the sidewalk. Your Honor, my lib just blew up. 12,000 people watching, he says. Should I leave it posted? Camille considers, soaked towel still clinging to her shoulders. Yes, she says. Let it stay. Sunlight's the best disinfectant. Walker makes a strangled sound, watching his life implode in real time. Notifications buzz his phone nonstop. Texts from family, group chats, department threads. Tyler has stepped completely away near the cruiser, radio in hand. Unit 7-3 to dispatch, he says. Request supervisor and internal affairs to 2847 Maple Ridge. Officer involved incident. Federal judge on scene. It's bad. Say again? The dispatcher asks. Supervisor NIA, Tyler repeats. Federal judge present. Serious misconduct. Walker suddenly drops to his knees in the mud, right there on Camille's drenched lawn. Your Honor, please, he sobs. I'm sorry. I screwed up. I made a terrible mistake. Camille looks down at him, still shivering from cold and shock. Towel wrapped tight. You didn't make a mistake, Officer Walker, she says. You made a series of deliberate choices. I didn't mean, you meant every slur, every threat, every second you held that hose on my face, she says. You profiled me. You tried to humiliate and break me because you saw a black woman and decided I didn't belong. That's not... Don't lie to me now, she cuts in, voice razor sharp. Not with a dozen cameras running. Your own words are already online. He bows his head, shoulders shaking. A news van swings around the corner, logo for Channel 6 painted on the side. A reporter climbs out, Korean-American woman in her late 30s, followed by a cameraman hefting gear. She scans the scene, the soaked woman, the kneeling cop, the wall of phones, and her eyes widen. Judge Lawson? She calls, approaching carefully. Dana Lee, Channel 6 News. Can you tell us what happened here? Camille hesitates, then nods once. Yes, she says. I can. She steps forward, towel slipping slightly, water still dripping from her hair. She looks like hell. Smeared mascara, tangled curls. But her voice is clear. My name is Dr. Camille Lawson. I serve on the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals. This morning, I was watering flowers in my front yard when Officer Walker approached. The camera's red light glows. Dana's mic picks up every syllable. He demanded to know what I was doing in this neighborhood, Camille continues. When I told him I live here, he refused to believe me. He accused me of trespassing, implied that I could only be here as a maid or a criminal, and insisted I prove I could afford my own home. Behind her, Walker stares at the ground, listening to his actions summarized like charges in an indictment. When a small amount of water accidentally splashed his uniform, he took my garden hose and blasted me with full pressure while I was on the ground. Unable to breathe, she says. Dana's professional composure cracks for a second, horror flickering across her face. He did this, Camille adds, because I am a black woman and he could not imagine that I belonged here, that I had earned this life. Phones capture every word. Behind Camille, Walker's phone vibrates relentlessly. Calls from his wife, messages from colleagues, news alerts blaring headlines he never imagined seeing. His world is unraveling, notification by notification. This isn't just about me, Camille says, turning slightly to address the cluster of cameras and neighbors. This is about every person of color told they are out of place, treated as suspect in their own neighborhoods, harassed or worse by those sworn to protect them. An unmarked black SUV pulls to the curb, federal plates glinting. A woman in a dark blazer steps out, flashing credentials as she approaches. Judge Lawson, I'm Special Agent Rachel Cho with the FBI's Civil Rights Division, she says. I need a few minutes with you when you're free. Camille nods. Of course, Agent Cho. Then she turns back to the cameras. Officer Walker will face consequences, she says, but he's a symptom, not the disease. The deeper problem is the system that allowed him to behave this way for 15 years, she continues. That system must change. Dana lowers her mic. Thank you, Your Honor, she says. This will be national before lunchtime. Good, Camille replies. Let it be. Another unmarked sedan arrives. A tall black man with gray at his temples steps out, uniform crisp, expression granite. Judge Lawson, I'm Sergeant Andre Lewis, he says. I'm so sorry this happened, he adds quietly. Sergeant, this yard needs to be preserved as a crime scene, Camille says. Evidence is everywhere. Already in motion, Your Honor, he replies. Crime scene unit is 2 minutes out. Walker remains on his knees, tears drying on his face, shock creeping in. Tyler stands apart, speaking softly with Agent Cho, giving his statement. Evelyn crosses the lawn with a thick towel. "Camille, sweetheart, you're freezing," she says, wrapping it around her shoulders. Camille's hands tremble as she clutches it. The adrenaline that kept her upright begins to EBB, replaced by bone-deep shaking. "Evelyn, you were brave," Camille murmurs. "Thank you for speaking up." "Brave," Evelyn says. "You're the brave one, dear." More vehicles roll up. Internal Affairs, crime techs, another patrol supervisor. Yellow tape snakes around the perimeter, looping past her rose bushes like a cruel joke. Camille's phone rings again. She glances at the caller ID, Thomas. She swipes to answer. "Hey," she says. "Camille, I just saw the live feed," he blurts, voice raw. "Are you hurt?" "I'm leaving the OR. I'm coming home now." "I'm okay," she says, though her knees still want to buckle. "Just get here." 10 minutes, he promises. "I love you." "I love you too," she whispers, ending the call. She looks at her home, her sanctuary, now wrapped in police tape. A marked SUV pulls up. Out steps Chief Melissa Grant, early 50s, uniform immaculate, face set in hard, controlled anger. She walks straight to Camille. "Judge Lawson, I don't have words for how appalled I am," she says. Camille meets her gaze. "Your apology will mean nothing without concrete action, Chief," she replies. "You'll get action," Grant says firmly. "You have my word." Then she turns, eyes locking onto Walker. "Officer Brent Walker, get on your feet," she orders. He staggers up from his knees, mud clinging to his pants. "Badge, gun, all department property. Now." Tyler steps forward, already holding Walker's badge and sidearm. The chief takes them and holds them up for everyone to see. 15 years of authority reduced to metal and polymer in her fist. 15 years on this job, she says, obliterated by 1 hour of bigotry. She drops the items into an evidence bag. The snap of the seal might as well be a jail door closing. Walker stares, empty, shock freezing his features. Camille pulls the towel tighter, then straightens, something in her posture shifting. She is no longer just the victim on the lawn. She is the authority in the room, even without a bench beneath her. "Officer Walker," she says evenly, "let's be very clear about what happens next." He lifts his eyes to her, red-rimmed. "You have violated Title 18, Section 242, she says, voice carrying. "Deprivation of rights under color of law. That's a federal felony." "Your Honor, I'm not finished," she cuts in. "You've also violated multiple Oregon statutes. Third-degree assault, official misconduct, coercion, and that's not exhaustive." Agent Cho steps up beside her, notebook in hand. "Judge Lawson," she says, "for the record, we'll need details on his verbal threats." "The threats began the moment he stepped over my fence," Camille replies. "He implied I was a criminal, threatened arrest for non-existent offenses, and attempted to coerce me into allowing a warrantless entry into my home." Cho nods as she writes. "He escalated to physical force with the hose after an accidental splash of water," Camille continues. "He maintained that pressure on my face long past any conceivable control justification." Walker flinches with every word. Cho glances towards the crowd. "We'll need statements from everyone who recorded this," she calls. Hands shoot up across the lawn and sidewalk. "We've got full footage, Agent," the teen streamer says, raising his phone. "It's all on the cloud already." Cho nods. "Good. Make sure you don't delete anything. We'll provide an upload portal." Dana's cameraman focuses on the growing web of yellow tape, the cluster of federal and local officials, the soaked judge standing at the center. Thomas's car finally screeches up to the curb. He sprints across the street, still in scrubs under his jacket. "Camille!" he calls, eyes scanning her for injuries. She steps toward him, and he wraps her up gently, mindful of her damp clothes. "I'm okay," she repeats, more for herself than for him. "It's going to be okay," he murmurs. "They all saw it. They all recorded it." She nods into his shoulder, then pulls back, spine straightening again. "Judge Lawson, when you're ready, we'll take a formal statement downtown," Cho says. "But we can start preliminary questions here." Camille nods. "We'll do it here," she says. "I'm not leaving my home until your officers finish processing this scene." Sergeant Lewis inclines his head. "Understood, Your Honor. CSU's photographing every angle, collecting body cam footage, canvassing for additional cameras on nearby houses." The crime techs move methodically, bagging the hose, snapping shots of mud prints and scattered papers. Chief Grant steps closer. "Judge, Internal Affairs will open a full investigation immediately," she says. "Walker will be booked before the end of the day. I'll request the DA review potential criminal charges." Camille's eyes narrow slightly. "Not just for optics," she says, "for real accountability." "Yes, ma'am," Grant replies. "No swept-under-the-rug nonsense, not this time." She turns a cold stare back on Walker, now flanked by 2 officers, wrists soon to be cuffed. "Officer Walker," Camille says, addressing him one last time, "you may spend the rest of your life insisting this was some misunderstanding, that I overreacted." He looks at her, hollow. "But the truth is simple," she continues. "You saw my skin before you saw my humanity. You saw a house you decided I couldn't possibly afford. You saw power you assumed I didn't have, and you acted accordingly." Phones capture his shame from every angle. She turns back to Agent Cho. "For your notes," Camille says, "he made explicit threats to arrest me for exercising my rights, attempted to force entry without a warrant, and used physical force as punishment for perceived disrespect." Cho writes quickly, pen scratching across the page. "Understood, Your Honor," she says. "We'll need you, in your formal statement, to describe the specific threats he made, word for word, as best you can recall." "I remember every syllable," Camille replies quietly. The lawn, still soggy and scarred, sits under the morning sun like a stage after the final curtain. Neighbors linger behind the yellow tape, phones finally lowering, expressions shifting from shock to something like resolve. Walker stands surrounded by colleagues who will now testify against him. The cameras keep rolling as Camille takes a steady breath, ready to recount, in meticulous detail, exactly how he tried to break her and failed. Camille's recall is razor sharp, honed by decades on the bench. He said, "You people think you can just move into neighborhoods like this." He demanded to know who was really paying for my house, suggested some drug dealer boyfriend bought it. Walker's skin goes gray. Those lines are now etched into a federal record. "He threatened to call immigration, even though I was born here, called me a maid or a thief." Agent Cho murmurs as she writes, "Every word is documented. He turned my own garden hose into a weapon, blasted me for nearly a full minute while I was on the ground, while I begged him to stop." The crowd has gone almost eerily quiet. 50 people, phones still raised. "Mr. Bennett," Camille says, turning, "you mentioned you're a retired attorney. What kind of work did you do?" Harold Bennett steps forward, adjusting his glasses. "Civil rights litigation," he answers. 35 years. Mostly police misconduct and constitutional violations. Camille's eyes sharpen. "Would you be willing To testify as an expert witness? Bennett doesn't hesitate. It would be a privilege, Judge. Somewhere in the near future, Walker's yet-to-be-hired defense lawyer just inherited another waking nightmare. Sergeant Lewis approaches, phone in hand. Your Honor, Chief Grant has authorized administrative custody. He needs to be transported to the station, Lewis says. Camille nods once. Understood. Lewis turns. Walker, time to go. Brent doesn't move, like his boots are cemented into the soaked lawn. Your Honor, he chokes, voice splintering. Please, I'm begging you. My wife Jennifer's a nurse. We've got 2 kids. Emily's 9, Tyler's 6. They need their dad. Camille's expression doesn't flicker. She's heard please before. You should have considered Emily and Tyler, she says quietly, before you tried to crush someone else's mother in front of her neighbors. Tears streak dirt down his cheeks. I'll do anything, he stammers. I'll resign, apologize on camera, whatever you want. You'll do all of that, whether you want to or not, Camille replies. Don't ask me to rescue you from consequences you created. A sedan screeches into the driveway. A woman in faded teal scrubs jumps out, late 30s. Hair yanked into a rushed ponytail, Jennifer Walker. Brent, she calls, then freezes as she registers the cameras, the crowd, the yellow tape. What did you do? He can't meet her eyes. Tyler steps forward, voice low, explaining. Jennifer's face shifts from confusion to horror to a fury that seems to steady her. You assaulted a federal judge? She nearly screams. A judge, Brent? Jenny, I didn't know. Even if she weren't a judge, you blasted a woman with a hose in her own yard? She snaps. On camera. He mutters. It was a mistake. Our kids will see this, she says, voice cracking. Emily will see her father attacking somebody. How am I supposed to explain that? She looks past him to Camille, finally seeing the full picture. The drenched clothes, the ruined case files, the stripped dignity. Jennifer walks over, stopping a respectful distance away. Your Honor, she says, eyes shining, I am so sorry, from the bottom of my heart. Camille's tone softens a shade. Mrs. Walker, you didn't make his choices, but I am responsible for what I show my own children. They need to see accountability, Camille adds. Jennifer turns toward Dana Lee's news camera. I'm Jennifer Walker. Brent is my husband, she says. What he did today was cruel, racist, unforgivable. I stand with Judge Lawson. The crowd ripples with shocked murmurs. Brent stares, gutted. Jenny, don't. She doesn't look back. She heads for her car, engine revs, and then she's gone, leaving a stunned, heavy silence behind. Chief Grant steps closer. Your Honor, will you be pressing charges? Camille doesn't hesitate. Federal charges, state charges, every lawful charge that applies, she says. The FBI will handle the federal case. Who's taking state? District Attorney Adrian Reed, Grant replies. Camille asks, Chief, how many complaints has Walker had? Grant glances at Lewis. He scrolls through his phone, jaw tightening as numbers pop up. 12 excessive force complaints, Lewis reads. 39 documented stops of minorities in predominantly white neighborhoods. 3 civil suits settled, total payouts, about $1.2 million in taxpayer money. The crowd detonates, angry voices overlapping. How was he still on the street? We paid for this? Someone shouts. Grant's face flushes with shame. That's exactly what we're going to dig into, she says. How he stayed in uniform this long. Promises aren't enough, Camille replies. I want action, policy, reform. This has to be the last time anyone gets terrorized for existing in their own neighborhood. Grant nods. You have my word, Camille exhales. Words got us here, Chief. Only action gets us out. A hybrid SUV swings into the driveway. Dr. Thomas Lawson is out before it stops, sprinting to his wife. "Camille!" he calls. She collapses against him, the composure finally cracking. Her shoulders shake as he wraps her up. "I've got you," he whispers into her hair. He looks over her head at Walker, eyes blazing. "You're lucky there are witnesses," he says tightly. "Thomas," Camille mumblers against his chest, "let the law handle it." He draws a breath, forces it out slow. Sergeant Lewis steps in. "Walker, it's time to go." Walker staggers to his feet, legs trembling. He looks at Camille one last time. "I know you won't believe me," he says hoarsely, "but I really am sorry." Camille lifts her head. "You're right," she answers. "I don't believe you. You're sorry you're on video. Sorry the internet saw you. Sorry I wasn't the powerless woman you assumed. You're only upset you can't get away with it this time." Lewis guides him toward the cruiser. No cuffs yet, but everyone knows they're coming. The crowd parts like a living corridor. Some jeer, some record in grim silence, some just stare. On Marcus's live feed, the viewer count hits 28,000. Comments fly so fast they blur. "Justice for Judge Lawson" starts trending locally. Walker ducks into the back seat, face slack behind the glass. The door shuts with a dull, final thud. The cruiser pulls away. People watch until the taillights vanish. Camille turns back to the forest of cameras and phones. "What happened this morning will not be swept aside," she says. "It will not be minimized or forgotten." Her voice rings out, "Steady now." Every video, every statement, every scrap of evidence will be used to ensure Brent Walker faces justice and to expose the system that sheltered him for 15 years. She pauses, gaze fixed on Dana's camera lens. "I am a federal judge," she continues. "I had power, resources, and still I was attacked, still treated like a suspect in my own front yard." She leans slightly toward the cameras. "If this can happen to me, imagine what happens to those without my advantages. People who can't fight back, who don't have a badge to flash when someone points a weapon at them." Silence folds over the block, heavy and thoughtful. "This is not an ending," Camille says. "This is the start of accountability, of reform, of real change." She pulls the towel tighter around her shoulders. "Thank you for your courage, for filming, for speaking up, for refusing to look away. You didn't just protect me today. You protected future victims who might never know your names." Applause swells, tentative, then thunderous. Evelyn wipes at her eyes. Bennett nods once, approving. Marcus and the other teens lift their phones like symbols. "Change happens when ordinary people refuse to accept injustice," Camille says. "Today, 50 people refused, and the world is watching." 2 hours later, Portland Police Bureau headquarters hums like a kicked nest. In the command center, every phone line glows. Media, city council, federal agencies, all demanding answers at once. Chief Grant stands in front of a wall of monitors, headset crooked around her neck. An aide rushes in. "Chief, the mayor's on line 3, the U.S. Attorney's Office on 5. CNN wants a live statement." Grant exhales. "Tell CNN there'll be a press conference at 4. Patch the U.S. Attorney through now." She listens, face hardening. "Yes, sir, full cooperation. Every file, every complaint, no redactions." She hangs up and turns to her command staff. Civil Rights Division is opening a formal pattern and practice investigation. They're flying in tonight. Internal Affairs. Detective Elena Morales strides in, thick folder tucked under her arm. "Walker's personnel file," she says. "You'll want to see this." She flips it open. 12 excessive force complaints, all stamped unfounded, all signed off by Captain Stephen Norwood. The pattern is impossible to ignore now. "Where's Norwood?" Grant asks. "Called in sick this morning before everything happened," Morales replies. "Convenient," the chief mutters. "Get him on the phone. If he doesn't answer, send a unit to his house." The door swings open again. District Attorney Adrian Reed steps in, suit sharp, eyes sharper. "Melissa," he says, "tell me we have enough to prosecute." He's already seen snippets of the footage online, but he wants the full picture from her. "Yeah, we do," Grant says, pulling a laptop around. 11 camera angles, 42 witnesses. Victim is a sitting federal judge, plus her personal notes. She hits play. Reed watches the full sequence, jaw tightening. When Walker laughs on screen, Reed's hand curls into a fist. "How long?" he asks. 53 seconds of continuous spray, Morales answers. Reed exhales. Assault, misconduct, coercion, bias enhancement. The union's going to howl. "Let them," Reed says. "We've also got his text from that morning. Let's see what doesn't belong." On screen, a message pops up. "Patrolling Laurelhurst today. Time to remind people whose streets these are." "Racial animus is baked in," Reed says. "And Norwood?" Grant nods grimly. "If he buried complaints, he's part of this conspiracy. Accessory, obstruction. He's not walking away clean." Reporters crowd the lobby outside. Back at the Lawson home, evening light slants across yellow tape wrapped around rose bushes. FBI teams move methodically, photographing trampled petals, scattered pages, the coiled green hose now tagged as evidence. Agent Cho sits with Evelyn on the porch. "I told him she was my neighbor," Evelyn says, voice still trembling. "He threatened to arrest me." "Did you feel intimidated?" Cho asks. "Petrified," Evelyn answers. "But I couldn't stay quiet." Cho writes carefully. "Mrs. Harper, your courage may have saved this entire case," she says. Inside, Camille sits at the kitchen table in dry clothes now. Soft sweater, leggings, hair wrapped in a towel. Thomas sets a mug of tea in front of her. The first cup went untouched. Cold. "You need to eat something," he says gently. "I'm not hungry," she answers. "Every time I blink, I feel that water again." He takes her hand across the table. "None of this is your fault," he says. "I know," Camille replies. "But knowing doesn't stop the feeling." Her phone vibrates nonstop. Text from Chief Judge Rivers. "You're off next week's calendar. Non-negotiable. Take time." From DA Reed, "Filing charges tomorrow. We'll see this through." From the ACLU director, "We stand with you. Our team is ready. More support keeps pouring in." She sets the phone face down, pressing her palms to her eyes. "Everyone's going to see me at my lowest," she whispers. Soaked, gasping, humiliated. Thomas gently lifts her chin. "They'll also see you stand up," he reminds her. "They'll see you pull out that badge and refuse to be broken." "I feel broken," she says. "You're injured," he counters softly. "That's different." A knock sounds at the door. It's Agent Cho. "Judge Lawson, we're ready for your formal statement for the federal case," she says. Camille straightens, shoulders squaring almost automatically. "Then Judge Lawson is back on duty," she replies. "Let's do it." And 90 minutes later, Cho has 20 dense pages of notes. Every insult, every threat, every second of hose spray is documented. "Federal indictment within 72 hours, Cho says. "Priority one." Meanwhile, at the precinct, Walker sits in an interrogation room, not as an officer, but as a subject. Across from him is his union attorney, Martin Keene, eyes rimmed with fatigue. "Derek, say nothing without me present," Keene instructs. What's happening to me? Walker whispers. Federal charges, state charges, Keene replies. You're looking at 15 years combined if convicted. 2 more days pass. Then the warrant is signed. When Walker is brought back in, Keene lays it out. You assaulted a federal judge on video. There is no plausible defense, he says. Can we cut a deal? Walker asks, voice raw. Maybe, Keene answers, but the feds will insist on real prison time. Significant time. Walker breaks into quiet sobs. Keene doesn't reach for him. He's defended bad cops before, but this footage is indefensible. The door opens. Chief Grant steps in, uniform immaculate, expression ice cold. Derek Walker, effective immediately. You're terminated from the Portland Police Bureau, she says. You can't, he blurts. I'm suspended pending. The investigation is effectively over, she cuts in. The video is conclusive. You broke policy, the law, and your oath. You're finished. She drops termination papers on the table. 48 hours to clear your locker. Benefits end tonight. Grant leaves. Keene slides the forms closer. Sign, he says. What if I don't? Walker asks. They'll fire you anyway. This is just cleaner. Walker's hand shakes as he scrawls his name, signing away 15 years of identity. Outside, news vans clog the street. Dana Lee reports live as protesters gather behind her, signs reading, Justice for Judge Lawson, End Police Racism, Accountability Now. 200 people and growing. Week 1, the investigation detonates. Agent Cho leads a small task force. 6 agents, a data analyst, a DOJ lawyer. They subpoena everything, personnel files, email archives, text threads, private social media accounts. What they uncover is nauseating. Walker's lockdown Facebook groups, full of racist memes and jokes about cleaning up neighborhoods. Photos of black suspects with sneering captions. Texts bragging, stopped another one who didn't belong today. On dashcam logs, Cho's team finds 15 incidents where Walker manually disabled his camera mid-stop, all involving people of color. She builds a timeline on a wallboard. Date, location, target, complaint, settlement. Red string crisscrosses between cases. A pattern emerges so blatant it's almost cartoonish. The Oregonian assigns veteran reporter Malcolm Price to dig. He's black, mid-50s, and he recognizes every contour of this story in his bones. His 5-part front-page series runs for a week. Day 1. The Badge and the Pattern. 15-year trail of complaints. 37 traffic stops in certain neighborhoods. 34 involving minorities. Day 2. The People He Targeted. Interviews with those Walker pulled over, roughed up, or humiliated. Day 3. The System That Shielded Him. Internal documents showing Captain Norwood dismissing complaints without interviewing witnesses. Day 4 counts taxpayer costs. Day 5 maps reforms. The series wins regional awards later, but that's almost beside the point. What matters is the pressure it generates. Town halls overflow. Call-in shows buzz for hours. Business owners, clergy, students, nurses, people who never attended protests before, start showing up with handmade signs. Walker becomes the face of a problem much bigger than himself, and the city can't pretend it's just one bad apple anymore. The narrative has finally shifted. By week 3, a state grand jury is seated. D.A. Reed presents the case. 11 videos, synchronized and unedited. 40-plus witnesses. Photographs, medical evaluations, internal memos. The jurors watch the water slam into Camille's face. One woman covers her mouth. When Walker's mocking laugh echoes through the room, a man on the panel shakes his head in disgust. Expert witnesses follow. Police practices scholar Dr. Karen Whitfield first. Every decision he makes violates policy and training, Whitfield testifies. This is textbook abuse of authority. Next is psychologist Dr. Miguel Salazar. His language, "you people don't belong," is classic dehumanization rooted in racial bias, he explains. Then Tyler Cruz takes the stand, eyes down. He profiled her, Tyler says. Said she didn't belong. I should have stopped him. I didn't. I'll regret that silence for the rest of my life. The grand jury retreats to deliberate. 45 minutes later, they're back. A true bill on every count. Assault in the third degree. Official misconduct. Coercion. They add a hate crime enhancement on their own, underscoring what everyone already knows. Keene calls his client that afternoon. They added the bias enhancement, Derek, he says. That's an extra mandatory stretch. There's only sobbing on the other end of the line. Week 4, the Department of Justice files federal charges. After combing through Cho's files, the Civil Rights Division issues an indictment under Title 18, Section 242, Deprivation of Rights under Color of Law, maximum 10 years. Captain Norwood is charged separately with conspiracy and obstruction. His wife files for divorce the same day. His defense lawyer quietly withdraws. The blue wall isn't just cracking, it's collapsing on top of them. The following month, Camille files a civil suit. Her attorney, Elena Duarte, is a heavyweight in civil rights law, 3 decades deep into police misconduct battles. At the press conference, Duarte stands at the podium with Camille beside her. We're filing under 42 U.S.C. Paragraph 1983, she announces. We're suing Derek Walker individually, the City of Portland, and Captain Stephen Norwood for systemic civil rights violations. Flashbulbs pop as reporters shout questions over one another. Duarte lays out the demands. $5 million in compensatory damages, $10 million in punitive, plus injunctive relief requiring deep structural reforms. This case is about more than one officer, she says. When Camille steps to the microphones, her voice is stronger now. I could try to move on, she says. Pretend this never happened, but silence protects the system. I'm fighting for the people who can't fight back. The city attorney meets with Portland's council behind closed doors. Our liability is overwhelming, she warns. We should settle. One conservative member scoffs. We can fight this, he insists. Then Duarte releases discovery. Emails showing officials knew about Walker for years, paid settlements, and did nothing. Public outrage spikes again. In the next vote, council goes 4-1 for settlement talks. Fighting suddenly looks like political suicide. The first offer is $2.5 million to Camille and a consent decree with modest reforms. She shakes her head. I don't want a lottery ticket, she says. I want a safer city. After weeks of negotiation, they land on a deal. $500,000 to her personally, $2 million dedicated to a police reform fund, and a sweeping consent decree that will rewire how Portland polices itself. The decree mandates body cameras for every officer always on with automatic cloud upload. Any unexplained deactivation is grounds for termination. A civilian oversight board with subpoena power and independent investigators. Quarterly bias training. An early warning system to flag problem officers before they explode. Month 4, the criminal trial begins in Multnomah County. Judge Lionel Brooks presides. Outside, it's a media circus. Court TV broadcasting every moment. Jury selection takes nearly 3 weeks. The final panel, 7 women, 5 men, racially diverse, mostly middle-aged. DA Reed opens. Derek Walker wore a badge and swore an oath, he tells them. On June 12th, he betrayed it all. You'll see the videos, hear the witnesses, and you will hold him accountable. Defense attorney Martin Keene counters, my client made a grave mistake. Mistakes, ladies and gentlemen, are not always crimes. Week 1, Camille takes the stand. Sworn in, she walks the jury through every detail. Precise, steady, devastating. On cross, Keene tries to chip away. Judge, weren't you argumentative? I asserted my constitutional rights, she replies. That is not argument. You splashed Officer Walker first, he presses. The hose moved accidentally, she answers. He responded with force. That's retaliation, not crowd control. Several jurors scribbled notes furiously. As a federal judge, don't you enjoy privileges others don't? Keene asks. Camille pauses, looks directly at the panel. As a black woman in America, she says, I share the same vulnerability to bias as millions of others. That day proved it. 2 jurors swallow hard. 1 dabs at her eyes. Keene sits, clearly aware he just helped her more than hurt her. The prosecution calls its next witness. Tyler Cruz takes the stand again, voice steadier than before. He said she didn't belong there, Tyler testifies. I knew it was wrong. I should have intervened sooner. Then neighbors, Evelyn, hands shaking, describes 5 years of friendship. He judged her before hearing 1 word, she says. Marcus, now 18, explains why he streamed. Without video, nobody believes us, he tells the jury. Bennett closes, speaking like he's back in court. I came to this country to practice law because I believed in its promises, Bennett says. That morning, I saw those promises mocked. We must correct that. Week 2, the jury watches the full 47-minute compilation. All angles synced. No edits, no narration. When the blast first hits Camille, someone flinches. When Walker jokes afterward, 1 juror closes his eyes, jaw working. The room feels heavier when the lights come back up. Week 3, the defense case sputters. Against Keene's advice, Walker insists on testifying. He tries for remorse. I should have handled it differently, he says. I regret my actions every day. On cross, Reed goes straight for the text messages. Read this aloud, he orders. Walker swallows. Patrolling Laurelhurst today. Time to see what doesn't belong. What didn't belong, Mr. Walker? Reed asks. Silence stretches. You meant black residents, didn't you? Walker's shoulders slump. Yes, he whispers. A gasp ripples through the gallery. Several jurors' faces harden. Character witnesses do little to help. Even his father sounds broken. We raised him better than this, the older man says softly. I don't know when he changed. Not a single fellow officer takes the stand for Walker. Jennifer doesn't appear either. The message is unmistakable. He stands alone. Day 19, the jury retires. 6 hours later, they file back in. The 4-person stand's verdict slip in hand. Count 1, assault in the 3rd degree, guilty. Count 2, official misconduct, guilty. Count 3, coercion, guilty. Count 4, hate crime enhancement, guilty. Walker collapses into his chair, head in his hands, shoulders shaking. Camille sits stone still in the gallery. A slow, quiet exhale, her only visible reaction. Outside, supporters cheer. Inside, the rule of law quietly asserts itself. 2 weeks later comes sentencing. Camille delivers her victim impact statement, voice steady, but thick with emotion. Your Honor, Derek Walker didn't just assault me, she says. He assaulted the idea that our laws apply equally, If this can happen to a federal judge, imagine what happens to those without my resources. I'm not asking for revenge. I'm asking for a sentence that tells officers their badge is not a license to dehumanize. Judge Brooks studies Walker for a long moment. In 20 years on this bench, I've rarely seen such a blatant abuse of power, he says. You betrayed the public trust completely. He pronounces sentence, 5 years in state prison, the federal term to run consecutively. Total, 13 years. $250,000 fine. Permanent ban from law enforcement. Mandatory bias counseling. And 5 years supervised release afterward. Walker is cuffed and led away. 6 months later, Captain Norwood faces his own reckoning in federal court. He's sentenced to 4 years in prison for conspiracy and obstruction. His pension stripped. He loses his house, his marriage, the illusion that he was just following procedure. The system that sheltered Walker for so long crumples with him. Policies, supervisors, union protections, all dragged into the light and forced to answer hard questions. Another 6 months pass, and Portland looks different. The consent decree is fully in force, scheduled to last at least 5 years. Body cameras are universal, always on with automatic uploads. Deactivation without cause means termination. Compliance climbs to 98%, up from 67%. A 9-member civilian oversight board, elected from the community, reviews cases with subpoena power. Complaints drop 40%. Use of force incidents fall by nearly a third. An AI-assisted early warning system flags patterns, repeated complaints, suspicious stop data, pulling problematic officers off the street before disaster. Quarterly bias training becomes mandatory, led by psychologists and community members, not just internal staff. Surveys show 70+% of officers say it's changed how they see their work. At a press conference, Chief Grant says, "We were broken. Judge Lawson forced us to confront that and start fixing it." Camille uses part of her settlement to launch the Lawson Initiative, an organization devoted to legal support, citizen journalism, and systemic advocacy. There's a legal defense fund staffed by volunteer attorneys. In 6 months, they take on over 100 cases, win dozens of settlements, and push 4 prosecutions. A citizen journalist training program teaches people how to safely record police. 1,200 trainees, 300 donated body cameras, and counting. The initiative's Youth Justice Scholars Program offers full scholarships named after victims of police abuse. 15 students funded in the first year. Between Camille's settlement and donations, the foundation manages nearly $3 million. Marcus, now 19 and a high school senior, becomes one of its faces. His video racks up 18 million views. A magazine profile follows. He's accepted to Howard on a Lawson scholarship, planning to study criminal justice and digital media. Marcus keeps streaming, but now with a purpose. His channel, City Watch Youth, has hundreds of thousands of followers. He covers council meetings, oversight hearings, protests. Meanwhile, Tyler Cruz earns promotion to sergeant at 27. He leads ethical intervention trainings. "I stayed quiet with Walker," he tells classrooms of officers. "That silence nearly made me complicit. Your duty is to the law, not your partner." Departments in 12 cities ask him to consult. Evelyn, now 83, becomes a regular at city council meetings. "I trusted police unconditionally for decades," she tells them. "Judge Lawson taught me trust must be earned." She joins the Lawson Initiative Board, mentoring younger activists. Other former victims step forward. A man once roughed up in a traffic stop now leads Know Your Rights workshops. A woman wrongfully arrested organizes neighborhood watch groups focused on de-escalation and documentation, not vigilantism. In Oregon State Penitentiary, Walker works in the library and tutors inmates for their GED exams. Court-ordered counseling forces him to confront his bias. It's a long, messy process. He writes letters to Camille that she never reads. An assistant simply logs them for any future parole hearing. His earliest release date is 2037. He'll be 50. Emily and Tyler visit a few times a year. Jennifer eventually remarries. She tells the kids the truth in age-appropriate pieces. Daddy hurts someone very badly. He has to accept consequences. Walker's father visits monthly, bringing photos of the grandchildren. Remember what you lost, he tells his son. Norwood serves time in a federal facility out of state. His parole is denied at the first hearing. You didn't just make paperwork errors, the board tells him. You enabled years of abuse. Oregon passes the Lawson Act, statewide body cameras, independent oversight, and mandatory pattern tracking for misconduct. Other states start copying pieces. California passes its own version. A federal bill with similar provisions gains bipartisan sponsors. Law schools teach Lawson versus City of Portland in civil rights courses. It's cited in dozens of federal opinions challenging qualified immunity. A documentary titled Hose and Gavel goes into production, set to stream next year. Camille returns fully to her appellate chambers, hearing cases, crafting opinions. She's more outspoken now about structural bias, careful to stay within ethical lines, but refusing to soften the truth. At a National Bar Association keynote, she quotes King, "Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere," then adds, "I felt that in my own bones. We either confront it honestly or watch public faith in our institutions disintegrate." At home, the garden slowly heals. It takes 3 months before Camille can step back into the yard without her pulse spiking. Thomas installs an underground sprinkler system so she doesn't have to hold a hose. The roses revive first, then the geraniums. Neighbors wave when she's outside. Evelyn still comes by for Sunday tea. Sometimes they sit on the porch in silence, watching the sprinklers arc across the lawn. One evening, as the sun sinks behind the maples, Evelyn turns to her. "You changed the world, Camille," she says quietly. Camille shakes her head. "I just wanted to water my flowers," she answers. The world changed itself. It only needed a shove. The roses are in full bloom again, the geraniums a fierce red. Life, stubborn and ordinary, insists on continuing. People keep asking if it was worth it. Her answer never wavers. "It was never about whether it was worth it," she says in interviews. "It was about necessity." Walker saw a black woman and assumed powerlessness. He was wrong, but I still had advantages. A title, resources, a platform. How many others don't? She insists the victory belongs to everyone who spoke up. Evelyn, Marcus, Tyler, Bennett, and to countless unnamed people who've endured quieter versions of that morning. On Marcus's channel and others, like Black Lens Justice Stories, the case becomes a rallying point. Change happens when regular people refuse to look away, Camille says in one video. Walker got 13 years. The system got reforms. That's not revenge. That's accountability. And accountability is everyone's job. Links appear on screen. LawsonInitiative.org, downloadable rights cards, guides on safe filming, lists of legal aid partners for those who can't afford attorneys. The video ends with a question. If you'd been there that morning, Camille asks, would you have filmed, spoken up like Evelyn? Or would you have stared at your shoes and hoped someone else did something? She doesn't let viewers off the hook. Be honest, she says, then be better. Every phone is a camera. Every citizen is a witness. Justice is a verb. The next move is yours. Dignity can be stripped in seconds and restored in witness. If you're over 65, you've seen enough to know that life can turn on a dime. 1 minute, Judge Camille Lawson was doing something many of you love, tending roses in the cool of a summer morning. The next minute, she was flat on her own lawn, choked by a blast of cold water, treated like a criminal in a neighborhood she and her husband had worked a lifetime to afford. For many older Americans, especially those who remember segregated schools and redline neighborhoods, that scene is not a surprise. It's a bitter confirmation. The lesson is painful but clear. No title, no education, no zip code can fully shield a Black American from bias. Dignity can be stripped in seconds, but there is another side to that truth. Dignity can also be restored when people refuse to look away. The neighbors who stepped outside, the teenager who hit go live on his phone, the woman who raised her trembling voice from the porch, all of them helped to give Camille back what that officer tried to take. For those of us in our later years, it is a reminder that we are never too old to stand as witnesses, and that opening our eyes and our mouths can be an act of rescue. Ordinary courage changes the outcome. Those of you who lived through the 1960s and 1970s remember the power of ordinary people, church ushers, school teachers, veterans just home from Vietnam, who chose courage over comfort. Camille's story echoes that era. The heroes are not superheroes. They are an 80-something neighbor in a floral house dress, a retired civil rights attorney who still keeps his notes sharp, a young officer who finally breaks the code of silence, and a nervous teenager with a smartphone and a bicycle. None of them knew, standing in those yards and on that sidewalk, that their choices would help send a man to prison and rewrite policy for a city. They only knew what they were seeing was wrong. For older viewers, the lesson is familiar but urgent. Courage rarely feels grand in the moment. It feels like your hands shaking while you press record, your voice catching, as you tell the truth anyway. Many of you have already done that in your own lives, at union halls, PTA meetings, kitchen tables. Camille's case reminds us that the courage muscle never expires. It only weakens when we stop using it. Accountability is slow, but it's real. Anyone who has collected a few decades of birthdays knows that change in America moves like an old freight train, loud, heavy, and slower than we'd like. Camille's victory did not end with one news clip or one 13-year prison sentence. It unfolded over months and years. Federal indictments, an FBI civil rights investigation, a consent decree that forced cameras onto uniforms and bad officers off the street, a new law bearing her name that other states began to copy. For those who have watched reform commissions come and go, it may be tempting to shrug and say, "We've heard this before." But look closely. This time, the videos did not disappear into dusty file cabinets. Data on who gets stopped, where is posted for the public to see. A young officer now teaches others how to intervene before things go wrong. A teenager who once rode a bike past a crime scene now trains other kids to film safely and know their rights. For older Americans, the lesson is not that the system is fixed. It isn't. But that accountability is possible when we insist on it, long after the headlines fade. The responsibility of our generation. As we age, it is tempting to believe our season of influence has passed, that the fight belongs to our children and grandchildren. Camille's front yard tells a different story. An elderly neighbor, a retired lawyer, a lifetime of hard-won wisdom. These were not background details. They were the backbone of justice that day. If you are 65 or 85, your voice carries the weight of history. You remember what this country has been, and you can help decide what it becomes. The lesson is simple, and it runs through Camille's ordeal. See clearly, speak bravely, and stand beside those who are targeted. Our bodies may slow, our hair may silver, but our responsibility to justice does not retire. It deepens. Friends, after walking through Judge Camille Lawson's ordeal and the hard lessons it carries, I'd like to hear from you. If something like this happened on your street, at your age today, what do you honestly think you would do? Step outside, start recording, speak up, or quietly hope someone else handled it. Have you ever witnessed a moment of injustice that still stays with you after all these years? Share your story in the comments. Tap like if this touched you, and please subscribe to my YouTube channel so we can keep learning, reflecting, and standing up for each other together.